Test, 1 2 1 2. Okay, today I am going to be talking about the placebo effect and the power of belief. Okay, let's go over the definition of a placebo effect. The placebo effect is when a person's health improves after taking a placebo or a treatment that is designed to have no therapeutic benefit. The word placebo comes from Latin and means I shall please. Placebos can be sugar pills, injections, or water or saline, or even fake surgical procedures. The placebo effect is caused by a person's belief in the treatment and their expectation of feeling better rather than the placebo itself. Okay, so most people know about this, but no one's really thinking about what does it mean, why does it happen, or what is the implication? And the power of your belief is something that's not a new concept. Like, it's been around for many a year, long ass time, if you want to get real with it. I'm pretty sure the Egyptians knew about this with their mystery schools and stuff. I think everybody knew about this. In different cultures, rituals are important. They're part of, rituals are very important. And what is a ritual exactly? So what power do, hold on, I'm thinking. I'm really tired too because I didn't even eat any breakfast yet. I just wanted to jump right into making this video and my head kind of hurts. But I want to say this so badly, I want to make this video so badly because it was actually recommended that I make it from my buddy, Julian, who told me I should make a video about the placebo effect. And I have a lot of ideas, I have a lot of opinions about the power of belief, And so the placebo effect, that's really just probably that's the closest quantifiable, measure, able to be measured, kind of like in a clinical trial. They're checking people's whatnots, they actually have evidence of this placebo effect. It's a thing. And they also have the nocebo effect, which is when you, your belief that something will not help you causes it to not help you or something. Anyway, so let's think about this for a second. And I'm gonna read a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and then I'm gonna try to mash the things together, okay? So here's the quote. It's a big one. It's a very cool one though. Listen to this. As the world was plastic and fluid in the hands of God, so it is ever so much of his attributes as we bring to it. To ignorance and sin, it is flint. They adapt themselves to it as they may, but in proportion as a man has anything in him divine, the firmament flows before him and takes his signet and form. Your assumption is the hand of God molding the firmament into the image of that which you assume. The assumption of the wish fulfilled is the high tide which lifts you easily off the bar of the senses where you have so long lain stranded. It lifts the mind into prophecy in the full right sense of the word. And if you have that controlled imagination and absorbed attention which it is possible to attain, you may be sure that all your assumption implies will come to pass. Okay, so that's kind of dope, right? So think about what Ralph Waldo Emerson is saying. So he says your assumption is the hand of God molding the firmament into the image of that which you assume. So what is that? So that the placebo effect, it's your assumption, your expectation that something is going to have a benefit for you. That's the whole definition. It's not the actual thing, the little physical thing that you're taking, or the saline, or the fake surgery, or whatever. It's your assumption and belief and your expectation. Now, why is this so freaking crazy and awesome? Because think about, okay, so physically, the many paradigms that exist on this planet that we live our lives by, they would crumble and cease to exist if everybody knew the power of their mind. If everybody was fully versed in this kind of this concept and like actually making use of it and practicing it in their daily life, the world would be such a different place. Like you can't say for sure it would be a better place, because then it would become up to us. It's like, are we using the power of belief in a positive and constructive way to help ourselves and other people, or are we using it to harm each other and ourselves? So it would become our choice at that point, and it is still our choice, and it's always been our choice. So that's why it's so important to talk about these things, and to acknowledge the importance of your belief and expectation and the power of your mind. Because if more of us good-hearted folk can use this constructive power of our mind in a way that benefits others, think about just how limitless and boundless the benefits would be, So, so here's another thing. So let's think about that. So if we want to help others, what do you have to do? Okay, so say you're on the airplane, that thing happens where all the masks fall down. What do they tell you? They say you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can start helping other people around you, right? Even if it's a child. Especially if it's a child, because maybe they can't reach. So they're even more powerless to help themselves. So what do you have to do? In the case of, say I'm a fully awakened being and I have, I acknowledge the power of my mind and the power of my belief. Let's say that I'm a very, a lot of people, they have a like resistance toward helping themselves, and they're like, oh, it's selfish, it's selfish to help yourself. I should just be helping other people, focusing on that. That's true. It's always good to focus on other people because we are part of a greater whole. So it's just a wonderful thing to do, to think of other people, right? But you have to become big and strong and put your oxygen mask on so that you can help more people, okay? So I urge everybody to embrace this power that we have, right? How though? How do you do that? How can you apply this? How can you apply this to your life? So there's a lot of ways you could, and there's a lot of resources as far as like spiritual teachers go, and I'm gonna just try to be completely aside of spirituality, even though you can't really you cannot, or you could, if you wanted to, you could try to make it a completely clinical and non-spiritual thing, right? But here's the thing. At one point, you're gonna start having questions why. You're gonna say like, all of the lack of explanation as far as why and how, it is going to be a barricade. It's gonna be an obstacle, and in fully embracing this concept and putting it to work in your life. Because we're people, we want to know why things work, and we want to know if we're doing it right, So at some point, spiritualism is going to, if it's not already, it's going to become an issue, or not an issue, but like it's gonna help, okay? Because and think of all of the things that already exist, like Christianity. They always talk about faith. Many religions, there's a lot of faith based teachings, there's a lot of So let me just try to speak from like a scientific point. The truth is we don't know too much. So you kind of have to use your intuition, you know? You have to use your own feelings. You know what I feel after like if you okay, so when you change the power when you use the power of your belief, what do? You're rewiring your brain. You're going into your maybe here's what I would do. When there's something that I really want in my life, there's something that I say, this is totally like, this is an expression of who I want to be. And how am I going to get from point A to point B? How do you believe something that there's no evidence for? You have to become your own evidence. You have to, it's like the placebo effect. The little thingy, it didn't do anything. You believed that it was going to do something, and then it worked. Your body took that as on faith, and it used its own mysterious power to bring forth a new reality, a new evidence of the assumption. You know, it's like Ralph Waldo Emerson says, if you have that controlled imagination and absorbed attention, which it is possible to attain, you may be sure that all your assumption implies will come to pass. So what does that mean? So beliefs, assumptions, what you might want to do, here's what I recommend. So say, okay, because I'm still working on this stuff myself, you know, there's some stuff that I'm still figuring out so that I can become a full expression of who I want to be. But there are some things I have had success with by doing this, by changing my beliefs. And then the creepy part is, the very weird part is, so you think, oh, if I change my belief, then I'm changing my mind, and of course my mind can... The thing that is very strange is that it's not... your assumption and your beliefs, they're not limited to what, like you can... Okay, so say you're a person who you feel very disrespected, you feel very overlooked in life. You might think, how are beliefs about myself going to change the way that other people treat me? I promise you this, I can without a doubt tell you that whatever you assume, like how you assume you will be treated, people will reflect that back to you. Or like, say, I recommend starting with something that's not like the biggest... If you're not used to doing this kind of thing, I would start with something that's like considered smaller. It's not like, wow, if I changed this one thing about myself, it would change my whole life. Why? The reason why you should start smaller is because your brain is used to a certain thing. Like, even if you think you're not even if you imagine yourself to be a spontaneous person who, okay, some people genuinely are very spontaneous, and they could probably get away with this easier than other people who are very stuck in their routines, but especially if you were a person who's stuck in your routine, you are gonna, your brain might have all of these contradictory beliefs and like, a resistance to change, which deep down you might think, of course I want to change. Like, why would I not want to change for the better? If it's going to improve my life and give me what I want, then why would I not want to change? Well, it's just because our brains are just hardwired that way. Like, it's like a defense mechanism and a safety thing. But once you realize, though, that there's nothing to fear, and like you're methodically changing your belief in a constructive and healthy way, then more and more you will be empowered to quell these voices that tell you, what if this happens? What if that happens? Oh, but this means that. Oh, but if blah blah blah, then blah blah blah. So therefore, maybe I don't really want this thing, or like I'm scared. Just don't. Just try to take it slowly and use consistency and repetition, because that's how your brain is going to learn. That's how your brain is going to take on new beliefs, is through repetition. So So here's what I suggest. So sometimes it's easier to write down all of the things that you don't want. You know, what is bothering you? So let's use an example. So when I first really did this for myself, change my beliefs to change my reality, it was because I felt so ugly and like I felt genuinely so hideous, and like I had no confidence as far as like how I looked went. And I had a job where I was very forward facing, like I was in customer service, so I had to talk to people a lot, like all day. And I was just like, every girl wants to feel pretty, you know. It feels nice when you can walk outside and have people smile at you and not be repulsed by you. I mean, that's normal, right? So here we go. Then like it was so bad for me though. Like I had these beliefs surrounding my appearance that were like, I am so ugly, I need to change how I look. And so first thing you want to do, stop this voice in your head that says things have to change for me to be happy. Do whatever you can to cut that out, because if you are stuck in this mental mindset of things have to change, then not only are you going to have a hard time changing your belief, you're basically just like freezing up. You're freezing up because you're not in a flow state of like, it's better to say things can change, or you can, you must understand that your perception is fluid. You're not stuck. Things don't have to change. Things can change, and they will if you let them, so don't worry too much. Start appreciating instead. Start to disempower these voices that you have inside of your head that are like regarding the situation as something unpleasant that needs to be dealt with, you know? So how would this look for me when I'm trying to change? I'm attempting to go from a place where I feel so ugly and I feel like I look ugly and like it's a physical reality for me. How do I go from there to feeling good about my appearance and receiving the positive attention that I desire, you know? So this would, for a while, so what I did was I stopped looking in the mirror so much because I wanted to get out of that cycle of criticizing my appearance. So I stopped looking in the mirror as much, and if I did catch myself in the mirror, you know what I would do? I would focus on one thing about my face that I did like, and I would ignore everything else that I didn't like. So I would say, oh, what beautiful eyes I have, or I would say, oh, look how, it's embarrassing. I would be like, oh, I have such beautiful lips, you know, like, just focus on something that gives you a positive feeling instead of a negative one, because, your brain doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know that you don't want something. It doesn't know that you do want something. All it knows is to reproduce what you're giving it. Like your mental attention is the will that you have. That's your power. That's your the power of your mind. You know, I can sit here and I could choose to think of something positive, and my subconscious mind isn't going to know the difference between what's real and what's fake. All it's going to know is what I'm telling it to feel, you know? And it's going to take that and it's going to start going to work in a way that I can't even see, that might be behind the scenes and stuff. And it's going to do some cool stuff, you know? So from there, I would say, so now you're trying to shift your focus, and don't worry about the 3D world. Don't worry about like the evidence of course, say if you're trying to create more money in your life or have a healthy relationship with money and like a free flow of money, of course you're not gonna just start spending it like crazy and stuff. What you should try to do is focus on being happy with what you have already. You want to get, like I said, you want to shift from like the feeling of I want something and things need to change, shift to having, shift to appreciating, shift to thankfulness and gratitude. Because say if you the power of your belief can create a positive result, then think about the end of like what would the result of it's basically just about getting into the shoes of your wish fulfilled, as Ralph Waldo Emerson says, you know. I don't think this video is very I don't think it's structured very well, but I'm trying to do it off the cuff because I really don't care. So here's something I would do. It's about the consistency, the repetition, the decision. You make the decision, and then, okay, so for example, whenever I was doing this thing to change how I felt about myself, and my physical appearance, I would write down in my journal, I would create the narrative. I would create this narrative wherein, you know, I was an extra beautiful woman, and everything that implied, I would write it down, and I would feel like, ooh, yeah, like, for me, I would have this, I would write the date in the future. Like, I would write it would be kind of like a journal entry, dated one day in the future. Why? Because then the next day, I would be remembering what I wrote. So here's the thing. Contradictory things would arise in my world, where I would think like, ooh, I feel kind of ugly, like, oh, like, I'm not feeling good about my appearance. Then I would say, wait a second. And then I would remember the day before, well, I would remember that what I wrote the date. I would say, hey, today is the same date as the same stuff I wrote last night. And all of that stuff, I can believe it's true because I wrote it, because I choose to. I'm deciding to believe it. And it said the same date, so that's today. So maybe actually today I'm a really beautiful, gorgeous woman, you know? And maybe everybody's complimenting me all day. So think about that. It's a decision. I'm choosing to redirect. I am doing it again and again, consistently. And then, so, basically what happened was I had done it for about a month, and I had started to see results. Okay, so here's a trap that you must not fall into. I started to, once again, depend on the outer world for validation, because I started to receive validation from the outer world, or I started to receive, like, the same things I was writing down. People started to validate and reflect back to me my new beliefs that I was creating regarding my appearance. So then you can fall into the trap. Boom, you're falling into the 3D world again. You're like, oh, but what if, like, I don't know, you just start to, it's not right. You're just not supposed to, because then you get lazy, then you stop drilling these new beliefs into your head. You kind of slip back a little bit. So no. You want to keep doing it. It's as soon as you feel bored, it's as soon as you start to feel, you know, I started to feel like I am so tired of, because I was doing it every night. I am so tired of writing this down. I don't want to. That is when it's the most important to do it, I think, in my opinion. You can't, nobody's 100% the same, but that was when I was like, okay, well, now I gotta kick it into overdrive, because now I'm really starting to believe. It's the fact that you're starting to believe it that makes it so, like, you're bored, you know? Because think about it. If I have an orange right here, I'm not gonna be like, there is no point in writing down, I have an orange, and my orange is right next to me, and it feels so good to have my orange. You know, you're gonna be like, well, obviously I have my orange, it's right there, you know? But in the case of persisting in your new belief, I think it is very important to keep doing it when you get bored. Some people, they like to drop it. For me, it would depend on the level of contradictory beliefs that I have, because keeping your mind is like a horse, you know, you want to keep your hands on the reins. If you drop the reins, boom, next thing you know, your horse is like just standing around not where you want it to be. So may as well, you know, you get bored, you know, you might be like, hey, I've been on this dusty trail for about 2 dang years and now I'm getting tired of holding the reins. I say no. I say you keep holding them, because then what? Now you're really reinforcing your beliefs. You're really getting stronger. This is like your strong forearm from holding the reins. I don't know. Anyway, so there's a lot to be said, and we shouldn't just do this for being pretty. You know, we should be doing, that's what I didn't realize at the time. I was so focused on my physical appearance that I started to like, I had like a complete unbalanced way of thinking that completely spiraled out in a chaotic fashion. So I urge everybody, don't become too focused on like this this power within. You have to still be a good-hearted fellow. Don't become drunk with power. Just like literally like your heart's desire and things that are going to benefit you and other people, that is what's worth using your mind for. And if you have negative beliefs and that are they're nerfing you in life, they are disempowering you, cut them out. Just find a way to stop. And the way that you stop, you don't resist them, because what you resist persists, and your energy goes where energy flows where attention goes. So stop giving these disempowering thoughts to your energy. Say no. You know, say, not for me anymore. I can be a new me. And never forget, now is new. I got this from somebody else on YouTube. I forget his name, but now is new. If you catch yourself, you're thinking negatively about yourself or a situation, don't condemn yourself. Just say, now is new. I can believe something else, and what I believe surely will be reproduced in my world and my brain. And you're rewiring your mind. Think about how awesome that is. Isn't it fun? It's exciting, it's exhilarating, and once you really put it to the test and see it start to work in your life, there is no greater feeling. It's not even about the things, it's not about the content of what you're seeing or witnessing or living. It is like the thing that is really exciting is knowing, like, basically it's like we live our lives feeling like we're clawing around, we're like, help me, It's kind of the end of that once you really start to realize and to put it to practice, and you realize how powerful you are. There's no greater feeling, and the connection to, this is where it kind of ties into spirituality, because it's like, what exactly is at work whenever it's easy to rationalize it when you're just like, it's just my thoughts, and they're of course able to change my behavior, and that's going to change my life, right? But what happens when it's something that doesn't have, it's outside of you? It's like the way other people treat you, or maybe even something like random chance, like, if you can instill the belief that I always get this is an example that people always use, I always get a parking spot no matter where I go. I always get the best parking spot that's right up close to the front or something, or like, I always get a free cup of coffee, or I'm always getting something for free. These are beliefs that are completely like outside of you. Like, the way that you carry yourself isn't gonna change if it, like, the timing of somebody leaving right as you arrive for you to get a parking spot. So what does this mean? It means that our mind is connected to a greater power. It means that our mind is part of a larger mind, and that we are a little part of a greater whole, and we're connected to something much larger than ourselves and much smarter and more like just something so super cool, you know? And then, so once you really start to understand that, there is less reason to doubt and there's less reason to fear, because you could be like, so you could call it God, you could call it universal mind, you could call it divine mind, or like source, or universal intelligence. I say God, you know, because it's like, duh, like it's God, you know, whatever, like it's God for me. But I also I like the term universal mind, because it is like, it's all the same thing. Yeah, you could say like, you know, God has my back, or like you could talk to God. You know, that's something my mom always told me, you know, you could talk to God, just talk to God. Like, what if I mean, how nice is it to know that whatever you're thinking, you can you know that God is hearing you, you know? So, and here's another thing too. I like, God always says yes. God always says yes. So if you're saying, oh my gosh, like I'm so ugly, I'm so poor, I'm so nobody likes me, I am so worthless, I can't find a job, I blah blah blah. You know, God says yes. God says yes. Does God want you to succeed? Of course. But there is something called free will. You know, we have our own free will. We can choose what we believe about ourselves, and it probably is better for everybody if we just try to. I mean, okay, so it's scary, right? You might be thinking like, oh my gosh, all of the times I've been saying, like, repeating these negative things to myself and believing in them, like, you might be scared thinking, oh my goodness, like, I really screwed up. But don't worry, now is new. Now is new. So you could believe something else. You could say something else. You might not even believe it yet, but you can persist in it, and it can become a belief, because you are training your mind, and your mind doesn't know the difference. It's not going to say, here's the thing. Here's something really cool that I'm starting to figure out. We're so focused on the world being used as evidence for, like, you might say, because I am in debt, I am lacking money. So you're using this debt as evidence to you're using it as evidence for what's going on internally about how you feel about yourself. Stop doing this. Stop doing this. Why? Because your mind is the true reality. What's going on internally is what is going to be reproduced. So the feeling, if you can say, I am rich, and I don't care what the outside world says, internally I know I am rich and I feel rich, that's the evidence. That right there is the evidence. And things that happen on the outside world, that's just a reflection of your new assumption. It's just a reflection. So don't give the 3D world power anymore. Take it out. It's not outside of you. It's inside of you. And you can say, I don't care what happens. I know that I'm always abundant. I know I'm always wealthy. I know I'm always loved. I know I'm always cherished. I know I am always valuable. I know I'm always, I always have whatever I need. I'm always successful. These things they don't need, you don't need to see evidence of it, to say it and to believe it. That's your power. It's the power within you. So you can choose. And the 3D world, it's just a reflection. It's just going to give you evidence. Now it's going to give you evidence of this. Now you've reversed it. It's not the tail wagging the dog anymore, you know? So this is why it's so important. This is why the placebo effect is really cool, because it's something that science can actually validates, because a lot of this stuff I'm talking about, it's spiritual. And what do we live in? We live in a world that is based on it's very like empirical evidence is king, you know? Science is a religion of its own now, you know? And I'm not saying that in an Elon Musk style way, as far as like, oh, never mind, I'm not even gonna talk about Elon Musk. Science has become it's dogmatic, you know? It's dogmatic, and we as people, we need to take back our power from the 3D world. Take it back. Don't give it to anybody else. Say, I always have enough. I am always abundant. I'm always valuable. You know, just fill your head with these positive beliefs, and it might be hard at first. Write down everything that you believe that's negative about yourself, because the concept of yourself is what's the most important thing. Well, it's among the most important things. And it's hard at first. You know why? Because we have years and years of these stories that we tell ourselves in our heads. But you know what? We don't let the past dictate our future anymore. Why? Because now is new. We can go within and we can feel the reality of our wish fulfilled. We can assume something different. And don't let people think it's just wishful. Don't let people tell you that it's pointless to imagine a better future. Use your intuition, use your heart. Let your heart guide you. Let your heart guide you. If you have trouble with self-hatred and self-loathing that disallows you from believing empowering thoughts about yourself, then stop bullying yourself. Like, that's something else that a lot of people struggle with. It's like, you can know all of this stuff is a thing, right? But if you don't believe yourself worthy of living your dreams and your desires, and you're addicted to these stories you tell yourself where you're worthless and you can't have what you want and you don't deserve to have what you want, then the narrative must be shifted. You must say, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of a peaceful life, you know? This is something that I struggled with for a long time. Why? Because specifically, I'll tell you an example. When I was growing up, not the whole time I was growing up, but for a period of time, there was like no food at my house. Like, this is something a lot of households have trouble with in America and other places around the world, but in the United States, a lot of children live in homes where they cannot eat enough food or have resources that they need to live a healthy life. And so what is your child mind, your teenaged mind, what does it start to do? You start to turn on yourself and say, oh, I don't have these things. Why not? It must be because I don't deserve it. So you start to create these beliefs around you're unworthy. And a lot of people experience this because our society and our culture is just so backwards, and we are like, our society kind of makes us believe these things. That's kind of why The Matrix is cool, because The Matrix, in the movie The Matrix, and I guess the comic book or whatever, they say, you know, the truth is that you are you're inside of a prison for your mind. So that's kind of crazy, right? So like, just take whatever pill, whatever blue pill, red pill, I don't know which one, I forgot, but like, take I think it's the red pill. I don't want to say the wrong pill because then it's going to defeat the point of what I'm saying. Take the pill that says, society is the one who trained me to hate myself. The everything outside of me is, I didn't know my power, but now I do. So now I I owe it to myself and I owe it to the world, and because you're part of the world, so you have to love yourself and you have to treat yourself well because you are a part of the greater whole, and that's where you start with yourself. Feel in your heart, get clear about what you want from the bottom of your heart, and think from the mind of God. Does God want you to suffer? No. Does God want you to hate yourself? No. Does God want peace and harmony? Yes. Does God want us to acknowledge our power and to do good in the world and to make the world a better place? Yes. So do it. Do so. If has anybody watched that thing about Cambridge Analytica where they had that just look up Cambridge Analytica do so, because it's crazy. Anyway, but we don't give Cambridge Analytica power in our narratives anymore. We're creating new and more healthy narratives that empower us and help us make the world a better place, right? Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about the placebo effect and the power of belief. And I actually have a lot more to say about this because I'm honestly thinking about this every single day. It's it's almost always on my mind because it's so it is such a game changer once you realize, like, okay, so there were things, okay, so remember I told you I would write down every night all of these things. It got to the point where people started to say things to me that I had written down that they would say to me. One of the things I was really hoping for, I wanted somebody to tell me that my beautiful smile made their day better, that just seeing my face improved their day. And that was something specific that I wanted to hear repeated back to me. And I think it was a few days after I wrote it down, it did happen. A construction worker came in and he had dirt all over his boots, and he was a hardworking man, and he said, you know, I came out here and I've been working for about 2 weeks, and I just want to say, just seeing your face today made my day better. It makes me kind of want to cry because honestly, like, that is so, that's to me like it's an example of what your pure heart intention can do to help other people, you know? Because part of it was like, oh, I'm just a little vain and I want to hear that my face made somebody's day better, you know? That's a little bit, that's you could consider that vain, but I felt like it was just a nice thing that would be nice, you know, and it did happen. Anyway, I'm tired. So with that, I urge you, the thing about beliefs, write down all your negative beliefs surrounding a topic, and then switch it, reverse it, go to the opposite. So if you have a limiting belief that says, I don't have enough money to pay for my groceries, I don't have enough money to pay for childcare, you can switch it around. Just say it. It might feel weird, it might feel wrong, you might feel like you're lying to yourself. Don't worry. Why? Because you don't have to. You're always lying to yourself. You're always creating a narrative. You're always fooling yourself. If you say something negative, you think that there's evidence for it, and that's why it's okay. You're not lying to yourself whenever you can't pay for your groceries and there's evidence right in front of your face that says, I don't have enough. This is still, you might be thinking, oh, there's evidence for it, so it's real. No, just stop, because if you really knew how malleable the world was, you wouldn't give anything your attention that wasn't in alignment with the life you want to live. Of course, we can't ignore reality. You're gonna have to still live in reality, and but take away the disempowering thoughts. Don't be triggered. Don't react to it. Just, you know why? Because either it's gonna stay like this anyway, and there's nothing you can do, and this is just how it is, or Maybe this is just how it is right now, and there is something you can do, and you know you're doing it now, and because you know you're doing it, and it's okay that this is just how it is now, because you're taking a chance. You're purposefully creating a new reality by changing your narrative and changing the story you believe about yourself and the world. So it's either one or the other, you know? Eventually, you can jump ahead to the point where you're so confident in the fact that this stuff exists that you can say, look at it and say, oh my gosh, this is just feedback that's telling me where my dominant beliefs lie, what I believe is true about myself and the world, and it sucks, but that's okay, because now I know that I can change it and it's all right. You know, now you're really not reacting to the outside world because you're saying like now it's really disempowered. Now here's the thing. Like I said before though, don't fall into the trap of once it starts to reflect in your outside world and it feels good, you're gonna like it. Everyone loves to get what they want, you know? But don't forget that consciousness is the true reality. What you believe is the true reality, and what you're accepting as true is the evidence. It's not the outside world still. Even though it's reflecting these positive things back to you that feel good, don't fall into the trap of like depending on it to gain for that validation. You still have to be the producer of these feelings of your wish fulfilled. But what you can do though is you can say when things are going well for you, you can say, oh, that's good. This is good feedback. This is positive feedback, and it's showing me that what I'm believing about myself in reality is reflecting in the outside world, and therefore I can acknowledge it for what it is and be happy and appreciative of it. But you're not going to be putting your you're not going to be worrying about like, is it gonna leave? Because listen, everybody dies someday. It's hard to say. Everybody dies. Everything in this world it falls away. It's just content, and it's just it's fun while it lasts, but everything turns to dust in the end. And that is something that all of us have to acknowledge. And don't put your happiness and hope in the 3D world. Feel it within. Change your beliefs to change your reality. Placebo affect your mind. Trick yourself into believing something. Give yourself a new story, because your subconscious mind doesn't know what's real and what's fake, and it will take on what you believe is fact. It'll take on what you're saying and giving it as fact, and it will reproduce in your outside world. So with that, I've said enough already. I could go on. I could literally talk about this all day, but I must bid you adieu. And I hope that this is uplifting, and I hope that it falls upon open ears, and I intend that it does fall upon open ears who are able to peek into a new world. And if you're interested in this topic, I recommend certain things. Like you could look up Joseph Murphy, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. You could look up The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard, who is a very, like, he's kind of the shit, you know? Like, I love Neville Goddard, and I love his teachings because they're so profound yet easy to understand. A book I like is called Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Berend. That one's a good one. That one is more about the power of like visualization. There's a lot of stuff out there already about this. Florence Scovel Shinn is a good one who I like. She does Your Word is Your Wand, The Game of Life and How to Play It. These are all like classics, you know. I recommend looking into them because these are not new concepts. They've been around for a long time, and I think it's in this state of the world, it's important now more than ever. Now is new. Now is always the time. Now is always the time to create a new world of peace and harmony. Where does it start? It starts within you. You don't need evidence from the outside world. Be the evidence, because it's going to come out of you. All of this stuff, it's going to come out of you. You are the cause. and God's wonder-working power and all that stuff. So let's make today super cool. Let's make it awesome. Let's do our best, and let's catch our limiting beliefs, and let's not condemn ourselves. Let's say, now is new. What do I want to believe instead? Just say it in your head. You don't have to fully believe it now. Just get in the habit of switching these thoughts around. Okay, well, I should really end the video now, so bye. I want to come up with a sign off, like, what's a good sign off? I'm gonna have to come up with a sign off. Come again. I will see you soon. I don't know.